Welcome, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I'm the Grey Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Tuesday, March 17th, 2026. We are going to be starting our day with a harmonic energy update. We'll be utilizing the Smith-Waite Centennial deck. First two cards in our 5-card spread for today are, we've got here the Moon card in its upright in combination with our Two of Cups in its reversal. All right, let's talk a little bit about this energy right now, because here's the thing about it. We've got new moon energy. We've got Pisces new moon energy in Pisces season. Okay. I just wrote a whole article about this over on the stack. All right. It's about recentering. It's about cleansing. It's about being able to take new approaches to things. The emotions can sometimes feel energetically overwhelming. Now, one of the reasons for that is often we recognize that Piscean energy is all about working through flow state, right? It's the observation of effectively moving through things in a way that feel supportive and conditional to the self. It's that adaptability that we bring to things. It's also the modality by which we recognize or feel the amplification of the appreciation of the work that we effectively apply towards things. Now, one of the things that we potentially see right now that I want to describe is at the same time, and I want to point this out, let this just serve as a reminder, okay? I feel like there's something really important about this energy that helps us understand that not all retrogrades are energetically negative. And we've been seeing this in a big way right now with the fact that we've been going through an eclipse cycle and Mercury has been in retrograde. And why am I effectively articulating that? Because often when we're going through eclipse cycles, they can feel like amplifications, right? They can feel like a lot of that energetic. I always describe the fact that eclipses don't effectively bring something new so much as they just effectively create that amplification point. So the modality by which we've been going through an eclipse process. And then, right? And what do we effectively see that's happening? We've got a lot of planets that are currently in Aries, right? Which again would typically create a feeling of volatility, but we're not necessarily seeing that in the same way because the Aries energy, while we have all of these planets that are basically in Aries right now, where do we see Aries energy? We see the Aries energy or Mars in Pisces. Okay. And we also are recognizing the fact that we've got Mercury in Pisces right now, too, in retrograde, right? So it's a continuation of the contemplation of what it actually means to be strong, right? This is what we've been talking about. And the observation of the difference between, right, performative strength and true strength. And what do we mean about the difference between performative strength and true strength? Performative strength is the feeling by which we feel we need to test ourselves against things, right? Often the modality by which we throw we throw ourselves upon something, not because we feel that we're strong, but more from the sense of feeling like we need to prove to another that we're energetically strong. And this is often more characteristic of energetic insecurity, right? Because when one is truly strong, you don't necessarily feel the need to have to prove that strength against anything because you know it within the heart space. You know your own strength. And we see this. We frequently see this with those that embody Aries placements. I'll tell you right now, you go meet most Aries, they're working really hard not to energetically break things with their strength, right? Like you go find someone that's truly strong, right? It's not the modality by which they're effectively trying to do something. It's the space by which they're often those that are truly strong are working very hard unlearning, and utilizing delicacy, right? It's the delicacy that we often see that becomes the prioritization point of the truly strong, not the space of feeling the need to try to test or to show another how energetically strong they are. So we have a lot of that energy there. And a lot of that work that we effectively see is, and I like to effectively observe this because it's having a big impact depending on where you find yourself on the frequency cycles in relationship. Because I feel like, and we're gonna start first with talking about some of this energy in solitude right now, um, because it feels like a conversation on the difference between the difference between the difference between uh I keep on hearing coming into fruition versus perpetual fruition, right? And we often notice this because, and I want to point this out. And this is often why we talk about the need to effectively relinquish energetic control as we move towards manifestation goals, right? Because there's the way that we aspire something to occur, right? And then there's the way that it actually occurs. And that modality by which that happens can often be the space by which it delights and surprises us, right? It's those observations of working through things that often feel that often feel energetically surprising, right? And that's why, right? That's often why we see or we work towards things with a feeling of energetic expectation, right? Because our expectation is our elation, right? Because it's not the space by which, right? It's not the determination by which we effectively push through or force into things, but the expectation, the a little bit here and a little bit there, right? Like that work that we do in a multifarious ways that often bring things coming into energetic fruition. And this is often a conversation that we have in terms of a healthy manifestation goal. This is often also what helps us heal from unhealthy relationship dynamics, right? Because in unhealthy relationship dynamics, one often experiences the situation of saying, oh, if I'm patient, something will energetically happen. But the thing is, patience is not waiting, right? We don't wait in relationship. We energetically observe, right? It's the observation of seeing what is energetically taking shape. And often, and those who, and you'll often see this in those who have moved away from unhealthy relationship dynamics, right? The observation of having to heal from a relationship simply in the modality by which one recognizes that one is waiting for change is often the observation of something that one is energetically dissatisfied about. So when we're in healthy relationship, we're perpetually working on positive change, right? Like that's what a relationship is. It's the positive change that we're perpetually working upon, and we're perpetually applying that observation or that force of intention towards. And it's not easy, right? It's often the space by which we ourselves feel energetically frustrated. But even in the modality by which we feel frustrated, we allow the context of understanding that is what happens. And so I feel like I would not be surprised right now if there's a few things that are happening, particularly as it relates to relationship. I wouldn't be surprised if there's energy in solitude that is moving into solitude based upon the fact that they're feeling a point of stagnation in relationship, right? Like expecting that there's going to be a breakthrough point. And the only time I keep on getting, the only time there's energetic breakthrough points in partnership is if there is a tangible point of change, right? Whether if there's like an identifiable point of a change or a key metric, right? The key metric that actually allows energetic change to occur versus like the feeling of energetic readiness, right? Because readiness is not something that we find, right? Readiness is not something that we just trip upon and be like, oh, look, I found this readiness that I was looking for, right? Like readiness is not a defined characteristic. But often those that are afraid to move away from something will articulate the fact that they're not energetically ready for something. And even in the space, but that's the space by which another person perpetually feels that way, right? So it's the modality by which, and I like to describe this, like, what is readiness, right? Like we often gravitate upon this word, but we never talk about it, right? And readiness, like what is the quality? What is the nature? What is the quality and nature of readiness? Can you describe it for me? Can another person describe it? And so that's what I feel like is being energetically stabilized, which is someone saying, can you please describe this readiness that you're looking everywhere for? Right? Like, can you can you please describe this readiness? And here's the thing about it. When someone is actually working towards readiness, the ability to define it is there, right? And the thing about it is, and when we do something, we never feel fully ready, right? Like that's what we talk about. Like this is literally why we often have at the beginning of a race like a sound, because if you wait till you're ready, it's, it's like the funny thing about it is ready is often ready or not, right? It's not about the quality of feeling it. Typically, whenever you are, you don't feel like it, which is why we see that this is a conversation on confidence, because confidence is what you do when you don't feel entirely ready. Confidence is what you do. We are constantly navigating situations with a lot of confidence, but the readiness is qualitative, is what I keep on seeing. So that's what we effectively work through. And even in the context by which we do that, right? That effectively applies, right? The unsteadiness that is actually required for true readiness, right? The unsteadiness that is actually required for true readiness, right? Because that is the quality of readiness. Readiness is unsteadiness, but still persevering through it, because it's the modality. And we're going to get to this center card for today's spread, right? Yeah, this is healing. Yeah, healing from the fantasy of readiness is what I keep on hearing. Healing from the fantasy of readiness. Because and that's the thing about like it's like there you never, right? Because you can always perfect, right? Readiness becomes a hurdle when you're looking for it, because you're not going to find it anywhere. Readiness has never existed in all of existence, right? Readiness is effectively the qualifier of the moment of confidence by which we're ready to address something unsteadily, right? Readiness is the qualifier by which we address something unsteadily. And that's why those who have confidence, right? Like often people be like, how'd you get so confident? Being like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Right? Oh, I'm terrible. It's like the energy that's going on. I'm just navigating that fear. I'm just navigating that fear with the best I can, right? This is often what you recognize. And so we see, right? So we see a lot of that work that's happening here. Now, for the energy in solitude, I feel like there's something really important about that, because for some of these relationships, I literally see relationships that had to be walked away from because another person kept on articulating the fact that they weren't ready for a relationship they were already in. Right? Like literally like being like working through the enigma of another person who's literally in a relationship, who's constantly articulating the fact that they're not ready for one, failing to recognize that they are in one, right? Because any relationship we have to another is a relationship. And the readiness that we articulate isn't about being in the relationship, it's whether we're ready to move towards a manifestation goal together, right? And this is what we have to recognize as it relates to healthy relationship dynamics. Everybody's, I'm in a relationship with all of you right now. We are engaging. The moment that we engage, we are in a relationship. Qualifying the state and the nature of that relationship is what is defined as healthy. And further, the context by which we're able to recognize the unified manifestation goals is how we feel energetically unified, right? That is a unified partnership. A unified partnership is one that navigates and moves towards manifestation goals together. So I literally see energy in solitude saying I was in a relationship that was not unified, right? The ununified field of an unhealthy relationship by which one is in one and another person refuses to admit one's in one because they keep on articulating the fact that they're not ready to move towards a manifestation goal together. So I feel like that's a lot of the energy that's working through those dynamics in solitude. And even in the midst of them doing it, I wouldn't be surprised if there's energy coming towards them going, I think I'm ready now, right? Because some energy is constantly, right? Some energy is constantly in the state by which they energetically articulate upon the qualitative nature of their own energetic readiness and the modality by which, right? Readiness is effectively articulated by steadiness. It's the ability to apply energetic force to things. So we see, and I want to describe this here, right? I feel like one of the things that we're identifying in some of these experiences is the observation, right? I would not be surprised right now if there are energies in solitude that are coming into union right now or working through the observation of energy, right? New relationships. And I just want to point this out. This is really important because I got to tell you, and I know it's going to sound a little bit odd, but these two cards in relationship to each other, even though it's a two of cups and it's reversal, it speaks towards unified partnership. And the reason it speaks towards unified partnership is this is the energy that is in solitude, that is able to amplify and articulate the difference, right? The difference between what it takes to make a relationship, right? The active work that one puts into it versus the experience by which another articulates the aspiration, but not the energetic conviction, right? And so the reason that we talk about that is, and this is what brings us into the modality of energetic dedication, which is the space by which we're able to identify the progress we are making towards something. So I feel like this is a lot of energy in solitude that is getting better at identifying true progress in partnership. Either, right? And this is either, and I'm going to tell you right now, with energy like this, either having some energy from the past returning, right? Much in the same, I keep hearing returning much in the same way as one always, either much in the same way as one always does. And I keep on saying the difference between a difference between a relationship by which another person is invested versus energy that is perpetually checking, right? The space by which another person is invested versus checking is the space by which another person says, I'm ready to energetically do something versus effectively checking on where something, like checking on in relationality to where something is, in combination with the relationships that are coming together right now that are articulating upon, and I keep on seeing this, the actual tangible reliability and consistency that we bring into the work that we apply our energetic effort towards. So we see that for a lot of those relationships, that this is some deep stuff happening in solitude right now. And I've got three different modalities that are happening in terms of that. So even working through those modalities and experiences, I wouldn't be surprised if this is a time right now in solitude of breakdowns or breakthroughs. Now, this is going to bring us to the energy that is moving deeper into divine union. Now, the cards that the energy that we currently see is that this navigating in solitude right now are effectively working through the world partnerships. I've been calling them because they're working through a lot of the lessons that we see in the world card, which are basically, it's the observation of being able to identify and recognize like I said, the healthy, the difference, and this is again the difference between a relationship and a unified partnership, right? The difference between a relationship and a unified partnership. Now, for the energy that is moving deeper into divine union, and these relationship lessons have been happening since about the Capricorn new moon, which occurred, I believe we were looking at, that was January 18th. Now, the relationship lessons that we're seeing beyond that point were effectively the moon relationships. And those were occurring between the time of that new moon in Capricorn up until Uranus is stationed in retrograde in Taurus, which was happening in September. I believe September 6th of last year. So January 18th to September 6th of this year. Fourth and fifth cards in our 5-card spread today. We've got here the 9 of Cups in its upright in combination with a 9 of Swords in its reversal. I like to see the double 9 energy here because the thing I keep on getting that's happening right now for a lot of these moon relationships is working through a lot of energetic breakthroughs as it relates to what was not working in the past. Absolutely no harboring about it. Harbor free healing is what I keep on getting. And the reason we're seeing harbor free healing is because for a lot of those relationships, remember I was telling you it was a little bit hard to read into them in terms of what was happening in those partnerships. The observation of energy that felt like their purpose kept on breaking relationship, right? The observation of them feeling that their purpose was breaking partnership in the past, finally entering into a relationship that does not hold the sense of purpose as third party is allowing them to be able to move stronger within, building into the space of feeling more integrated into the self, right? They're in a holistic relationship because it's able to navigate the whole of the self. And immediately, as they are experiencing that, they are observing the lack of integrity that they found in past partnership, right? The relationship by which another person felt, right? This I keep on getting the magnetized power of a purpose by which another person articulated that they appreciate that the reason that they felt drawn to someone was because they had one. And then once they were within one, articulated that the purpose was energetically damaging the relationship, is showing the lack of the integration, because when we're in healthy relationship, our yeses stay yeses and our no's stay no's. So we see that for a lot of the energy doing that work, facilitating upon that, working towards that observation is effectively allowing for a lot of healing to occur, but it's also creating a lot of feelings coming up, right? The shifting of the perspective as it relates to how one sees the past. So there may be a lot of emotions that are coming up, but immediate clearing. Right? It's like the emotions come up, immediately cleansed. Emotions come up, immediately cleansed. Told you, it's a very cleansing moon. Now, this brings us to the energy that's deep within divine union. And these are the relationships that were coming together between the time of Uranus stationing retrograde, which was around September 6th, up until the summer solstice that we had. Clarification between that moon card and the 2 of Cups in its reversal. Whew, Queen of Swords in its upright. I don't mind seeing a Queen of Swords here in this type of energy, because I got to tell you right now, Queen of Swords energy, given what we're experiencing, I just want to point out, with this much Piscean energy happening, to see a Queen of Swords, we love to see it, right? Because Queen of Swords is a lot of that wait a minute type of energy there, right? And especially for these temperance relationships, and I need to effectively identify or recognize this. This is a lot of the energy the temperance relationships were coming together utilizing the messages of the temperance card, which says everything is possible so long as the work is mutual, right? And this is a lot of, I keep on hearing, this is a lot of energy that is getting attenuated to where they are requiring heavy lifting, right? And what do I mean by heavy lifting? Heavy lifting are modalities or experiences by which, and I keep on seeing this, something about these temperance relationships often moving into experiences by which their generosity requires them to do all the work, right? The modality by which, right? The modality by which their generosity requires them to do all the work. And I see a lot of that energy that is articulating that a healthy limit is the ability of being able to articulate what one is energetically available for versus what one is not. And I keep on seeing and I keep on hearing like the conversation that's happening there is pay attention. I almost hear like the energy saying, pay attention to what occurs when you give someone a healthy limit. Because when you give someone a healthy limit, you get to find out whether they care about you or not, which is the modality by which one is able to see, right? The modality by which one is able to see the energetic appreciation of what is energetically possible versus, and I keep on seeing this, versus what is defined as pushy energy, right? And I keep on getting pushy energy is often I keep on hearing like the thing about it, and that's what we often see is the observation of what energetically often feels right, what often feels energetically bullying is often, I keep on hearing the subtle bullying of pushing energy, which is the modality by which, right, we're energetically patient in terms of effectively articulating upon what it is that is energetically possible versus those modalities or experiences by which we feel, right? By which we feel another person is energetically testing limits, right? And the thing about it is when we care about each other, we don't energetically test limits, is what I keep on seeing. So there's something about that feels strong and empowering because I almost feel like this is a lot of the like this is a result of a lot of those planets that we see in Aries, right? A lot of those air planets that we see in Aries that are mutually working through, right? Mutually working through the fact that Mars is in Pisces along with Mercury that's also in retrograde, which are conversations as it relates to consistent effort, right? Consistent effort that pays off towards patience, that works towards the feeling of energetic significance. Now let's continue forward in terms of what we're seeing here. Clarification between the Two of Cups in its reversal in combination with our Four of Wands in its upright. Can I get one card to clarify, please? Clarification coming through right now with our Two of Wands in its upright. So let's talk a little bit about that Two of Wands energy, because the Two of Wands energy, and this is moving us back into the energy and solitude right now, right? The Two of Wands energy with the Four of Wands. And we've got a lot of, I got to point this out. We've got a lot of 9 energy out right now and a lot of 2 energy. And the Two of Wands energy is effectively working through I keep on hearing aspirational versus actual. And what do we mean by aspirational versus actual? Aspirational is often the space by which we talk and we talk and we talk and we talk, right? And then actual is talking and walking. And I keep on hearing aspirational and actual do not need to be separate states, right? Like aspirational and actional do not need to be separate states. But you'd be surprised, right? You'd be surprised how someone is always in the aspirational state talking about how they're not ready to go actual yet, right? And the thing about it is, and when we recognize the quality that no one ever feels ready to do anything, right? That the modality by which we do things is not qualified upon readiness. It's qualified upon the fact of just doing it. Right? It's not that something needs to be perfect, but there is energy, right? There is energy that will never enter relationship because they're looking for the perfectitude of the self before they move into partnership. And I got some news for you. That never happens, right? Right? Like if energy is literally waiting to be perfect to enter into relationship, that day's never going to come because being alive is being in a state of activating perfectitude. When we understand that perfect is not a location, it's an aspiration, then when another person says I'm not ready for a relationship because I'm not perfect yet, then we literally see the modality by which another person's ambition is standing in the way of partnership, right? Because the ambition, right? You can actual and aspirational, actual and aspirational are integrated. They don't need to be separate states. Actual and aspirational are clasped states. That those that are truly actual are also aspirational. They're actually doing something and they're aspiring even as they talk about what they're actually doing. And the modality by which, right? Modality by which some energy perpetually gets caught in aspirational states is the modality by which they articulate upon it, but the modality by which we effectively move through it is the state of effective readiness that we bring to it. And I keep wondering, everybody activates in different ways. Sometimes that activation is slow. Sometimes it's immediate. But this is why we effectively build into the reliability of the self, because it is the determination that we're able to bring to things as it relates to how we effectively address them. So, what we see is happening right now for a lot of these energies in solitude, I see that there's either energy in solitude that is having the clarity in being able to perceive another who is perpetually in an aspirational state, right? The modality by which they're always articulating upon the aspiration that they bring to things, but without actually moving towards it, versus the energy that is moving deeper into relationship right now. And why are they moving deeper into relationship? Because it is the integration of the aspirational and the actual, right? The holistic, right? And this is what we get with the world card, right? This is why the figure on the world card carries two wands, because the figure on the world card carries two wands. It says you can do both. You can do both. You can do both. I can't do that right now. I'm being too aspirational, right? But if you don't learn how to build that into that balance, right? It can often create the space by which another person, right? Another person is always articulating upon what they aspire for, but never being in the state by which they're actually energetically ready for it. So we see that that's a lot of the energy that's effectively working through those dynamics. And at the same time, I see some energy right now that is starting to either heal from experiences of that nature, because the problem with those relationships, those are some of the hardest relationships to move away from, right? Because often the space by which one says, right, the space by which one says, like, heal, I keep wondering, this is energy and solitude healing from any day now energy, right? And what's so hard about energy and solitude healing from any day now energy is often the energy feels the burden of guilt in relationality to another person that has created the feeling that if they're just patient, like if they just wait long enough, that something will come towards them, failing to recognize that, again, the difference between patience and waiting is patience. Healthy relationship only requires patience of us, which is the ability to see tangible energetic progress towards things. So this is the energy that is being able to define in solitude the difference between and even in the space by which they're healing, right? almost like I almost see the energy in solitude saying that when we care about each other, we don't make each other wait because we recognize that waiting is a painful state, right? And when we recognize that waiting is a painful state, then we don't come into the context of wanting to hurt one another so much as we are effectively in the space by which we're energetically patient for one another, which is the articulation and the identification of building into healthy progress. So that's a lot of the energy. I either see energy in solitude that's saying, the desire not to be in a relationship with another person that feels like they're okay making another person experience pain, understanding that they're waiting, or new relationships that are forming because they're not experiencing that. They're feeling the unification of aspirational and action, right? They're experiencing the relationship, right? And there's that two wand approach, right? The modality that says it's okay, right? It's okay to have aspirations while you're actively working towards things. Like they're holding the world card, right? So it's very much similar to what we see with the world card, right? You don't need, it's not one or the other, it's the unification of both that allows for the healthy partnership. Now, continuing for a lot of these relationships, moving deeper into relationship right now, we're moving back into those world relationships. This is what we see that the world relationships are having, right? They're experiencing the integrated partnership, which is the modality of having room for the purpose as well as the self. So this is a lot of the energy that is going through. I wouldn't be surprised. I need to point this out. Clarify. I already see where this card's going. Clarification right now. Yeah, Knight of Swords. I would not be surprised if there's energy, these moon relationships that are moving very quickly into deeper invested union. And the reason we're seeing that a lot of that energy may be moving very quickly into deeper invested union is because this is, I told you, they're experiencing they're experiencing all of that energy. They're finally in, I keep on hearing, they're finally in a relationship by which the purpose isn't held as third party, right? They're finally in an integrated relationship because the relationship has integrity, which is the modality by which not only do they have a sense of purpose, but the relationship feels the holistic, it's healing them in a holistic way because they're recognizing that there's space both for the purpose and the relationship, right? They're one and the same, and all of the feelings that come up about the past immediately, right? Immediately swept away, right? It's like no harboring, just all clearing. I told you it's a cleansing moon. Continuing to get clarification between the of cups in its upright and the 9 of swords in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Here's the thing about it. 7 of swords in its reversal. As always, the energy right now, the energy deep within divine union, I feel like the energy deep within divine union right now is potentially experiencing this in a way that may feel if anything, more energetically frustrating. And the reason I'm going to identify the fact that it feels potentially frustrating has to do, and I want to point this out. Um, there's nothing more, there's nothing more devastating than the modality by which we build into presumption. And let's talk about the toxicity of presumption, because what we effectively identify when it comes into the toxicity of presumption is the modality by which we effectively feel that we know, that we identify and know everything, right? And there's a stagnancy point in energetic presumption, and that stagnancy point of presumption, um eradicates assumption is the best way I can describe this. And why do we effectively see that? Because it's the work by which we recognize and identify, right? And I want to stress this. When we've been going through a lot of energetic overwhelm, right? We've been like, there's been a lot of energy in Pisces. So the modality by which a lot of things are happening. And when we recognize that if you're feeling overwhelmed, so is everyone, then we don't, then I keep wondering, we don't get frustrated identifying or recognizing the quality of quietude, because we understand the quality of quietude is often the work that another is doing in actively working, right? And so we see that for a lot of the energy that it potentially facilitates upon that work, that adaptability, or those points by which we effectively, I keep on getting, and this is a continuation, and I want to point this out. I feel like what we're effectively seeing right now for a lot of the energy that is a lot of the temperance relationships is they're working really deeply through Uranus and Taurus. And the thing about Uranus and Taurus, it's the observation that the only way to step into a deeper comfort zone is by stepping out of one, right? The adaptability or the ability that we give ourselves to do something in a new way that allow the possibility of new things to occur. And that's a continue, like that's what I meant about the fact that the lessons kind of move through, because I feel like that is the type of energy that the energy within divine union is taking as it relates to new approaches to things, right? A little bit of discomfiture every day is how new grooves are made, right? And it's not by doing a lot. And this is what we talk about. Sometimes it's just that little bit of give, right? It's a little bit of attunement. And so I feel like, again, the energy deep within divine union is working on attunement, but attunement often feels like working through discomfiture, right? Because the only way to find better attunement is to get a little uncomfortable as you're trying to do something in a different way. Continuing to get clarification between our Queen of Swords with the Two of Wands and its upright. The Tower card, I don't mind seeing the Tower card here either. And especially, I don't mind seeing the Tower card for the energy and solitude right now, which is where it's coming up. Because the thing about the Tower card, and I like to point this out, this is, can I just show you this? You want to check out something really cool right now? Right, look at this. You see this tower? The scaffolding. Do you see the scaffolding? Do you see the scaffolding? Right? That's scaffolding right there. Like, look at that tower. Look at the tower with all the scaffolding around it. So that's what we're effectively seeing there. It's a tower with scaffolding around it, which says, right? And this is what we identify, right? This is a lot of the energy. I got to tell you, okay, I've got a couple things happening right now for the energy and solitude. And the first thing I'm seeing is I've got three different modalities I'm seeing right now for the energy and solitude. And I keep on hearing it has to do with healthy scaffold. And the reason I'm hearing healthy scaffold is because when we care about each other, we don't keep each other in a perpetual state of distress. And when we recognize that we're waiting, that waiting often feels like it does a number on our nervous system, right? Then we understand, like, this is what we mean about being energetically patient, which is the modality by which healthy relationship, ever patient, never waiting, which is the modality by which we effectively work towards being progressive in the best way possible. And that doesn't mean, right? That doesn't mean we're at each other's behest, right? That doesn't mean that we're at each other's behest, because when we're not at each other's behest, we get the ability to be our best, which is working into the context of understanding, right? The difference between a love that is actual versus a love that is eventual. Nobody wants an eventual love, right? Which is the modality by which another person looks at love and says, I care about you, but I'll get to love eventually, right? That's what I keep on hearing. I care about you. I care about you, but I will get to love eventually, right? Because that is literally the sound of a love that is being torn down, right? Because when we find love, and love is the energetic priority, then we run towards it, right? Because we recognize how precious it is. We don't build towards love eventually, because eventually is the space by which one says, are you still there? Is the love still there? Okay, cool. I'm not ready for it yet. I just wanted to make sure it's still there. Okay. All right, cool. All right, I've scaffolded the love. I've made sure the love is still there. I gotta go. Okay. All right, cool. I held it up. All right, it's held up. All right, the love is held up. I'll be back. I got some stuff to do, right? We don't build into relationship like that, but you'd be surprised, right? Someone that does not want relationship will try to build scaffolding around love, which says, I don't really want it, but I just want to make sure nobody's touching it. I just want to make sure it's still there. Okay, cool. All right, it's good. I gotta go. Right? I gotta go. Right? It's just like, I have secured the love. I have secured the love, but I'm not ready to go in it. I just needed to make sure it was still present, right? So I keep on seeing that this is a lot of energy that is working in separation, that like working through solitude, but in the modality of solitude of recognizing how not fair that is to do to another. We don't scaffold our love, which is the space by which we don't arrive to it to just make sure that it's still there and then go away from it. Okay, I secured the love. The love's still there. All right, good. I got to go. It's something that we put into. And then you're surprised when one day you show up and the love isn't there anymore, right? That's what happens with relationships like that, right? It's there, it's there, it's there. And then one day it's gone. It's not that it was gone. It was slowly coming apart at the seams, but you weren't in the space by which you have to tend to love daily, right? Love is the gift that we give to each other as it relates to the fact that we articulate upon it in a way that we effectively identify the space by which we're constantly in the place of being able to energetically maintain it, right? But the scaffolding that we try to articulate around love is often the modality or the experience by which we ourselves aren't into the are not working through the modality or the experiences in that way. And so that's why we see that for a lot of the energy doing that work, they're healing, right? They're healing from a relationship by which they felt like their love was scaffolded, which is not the fact by which they had the opportunity to fully experience it, but another person that was perpetually just checking to make sure it was there, right? Until it wasn't there anymore. While for a lot of these relationships right now, I feel like the breakthrough that's happening in these new partnerships is the energy that says no love scaffolding, right? That when we care about something, we're actively, perpetually working upon it. It is the space by which we're constant. I keep remembering, it's a space by which we're constantly checking upon it. It's the space by which we work to effectively grow it. And the thing that's beautiful about that is when a love is deep and profound, right? When a love is deep and profound, then we always energetically feel it, but potentially particularly and deeply, right? The modality by which we ourselves are able to articulate upon, and I feel like the beautiful thing about this, and I just want to be clear upon this, is for some of these relationships that are coming together right now, getting better at articulating their feelings to have their needs met, right? There's no repressing, is what I keep on seeing. No repressing, which is the modality by which it's not like I keep on seeing if they're feeling like something is repressed, they're investing the energy in terms of understanding if that's an inward problem or an outward problem. Continuing for those moon relationships between the Two of Wands and its upright and the Knight of Swords and its upright. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Knight of Wands and its upright. And I like the Knight of Wands in its upright, because the Knight of Wands in its upright, and I got to tell you right now, there is so much wand energy right now with these moon relationships. So much wand relation energy in these moon relationships. And the observation of what I'm seeing there has to do with the energy becoming aware of what was wrong in the past, right? Like, look at these two cards. Look at these two cards together, right? They can see it now. They can see it now with a clarity that they could not see it before, because they finally are in, they're finally in a relationship that has space for their purpose, right? They've got the energetic, they've got the energetic room to grow. They've got the understanding. They're feeling that energetic momentum. And what's beautiful about this is the gift that they're finding in relationship. They feel, right? They feel like they feel like they've arrived into a relationship that welcomes their momentum, not feeling the space of having to energetically repress it in order to effectively move through partnership. And that's why there may be feelings that are coming up, but as the feelings that come up just as easily moved into the context of energetically healing. This brings us to clarification between the Knight of Swords and that Seven of Swords in its upright. Can I get one card to clarify, please? Clarification coming through right now with the Ace of Wands, and this is bringing us to the energy that is deep within divine union. I keep on getting, there's something, I feel like there's something, I feel like there's something very profound and important for the energy deep within divine union. And it has to do with situations and circumstances. Like I just keep on seeing working, like I keep on hearing working on substantively working on things, right? And the thing I keep on getting on this is um we've been going through, we went through an eclipse process, right? And the thing about it is, um and this is what we talk about with seasons of expansion. Seasons of expansion often, and I want to point this out, seasons of expansion are not the same as seasons of activation, because seasons of expansion help us see things in different ways, right? Seasons of expansion lead to activations, because it's the modality by which one perceives something that then allows one to effectively get to work upon it. And so I feel like that's almost something that I'm picking up right now that's happening for a lot of the energy deep within divine union. It's the observation of perception that opens doors in terms of explorations of the self. So I feel like that's a little bit of what we're seeing here. It's like, and that's what I meant about the energy building into temperance, which is also what I kept on getting in terms of the energy articulating to each other, right? The modality of how another person, the space by which another person finds us, that tells us everything we need to know as to whether they hold the self in consideration. Because I keep on hearing love is not a demanding space. Love is a space by which we find our needs. Our needs are met, which is the observation of being able to articulate upon something that then allows us to be able to do something energetically better. Now, continuing back to the energy and solitude right now, this new moon's triggering something for the energy and solitude. Yeah, we've got the Page of Cups in its reversal. And the thing about the Page of Cups, the thing about the Page of Cups in its reversal here, and I don't mind seeing the Page of Cups in its reversal, because it is working into, it's very serious energy, right? And I want to point this out. We talk a lot about this here, okay? I feel like there's some energy that is in solitude that's getting very serious about their joy. And why do we see a lot of the energy in solitude getting serious about their joy? Because I'm going to say this again, manifestation goals are a BYOJ situation. You have to bring your own joy to them. If you don't have joy, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but if you don't have joy, there is not a single thing on this entire earth that you're going to move towards manifestation wise that is going to make you happy. Okay. That if you literally, and this is why, and the universe is often trying to articulate this, being like, why do you want that? It'll make you happy. Not going to make you happy. Okay. Like, not going to make you happy. There is not a manifestation goal on this planet that bring joy with them. There are things that help amplify joy. There are joy amplifiers. Okay. There are joy pacifiers, there are amplifiers, there are pacifiers, there are modifiers, right? Amplifiers, pacifiers, modifiers, but not joy generation devices. Right. And when we think about the fact that manifestation goals are not joy generation devices, then we have to be very conscientious about the aspiration by which we move things. And this is what often happens with those who are trying to find relationship, but they're not fully ready to embrace it, which is a modality being like, a relationship would fix me. No, it would not. And often the modality by which we articulate upon, what, a little relationship will fix me. A relationship is not a balm for one's mood, right? A relationship is not a balm for one's mood. It's the modality of understanding that you bring your mood into related partnership. And so when we understand that, then we get in the business of seeking our joy, because then we're a delight. And the modality by which we become each other's delight is the light, right? Delight is the light. So it's why it's okay to be able to understand that the way that we heal partnership is by being able to magnify our joy. Because when we magnify our joy, then we become a delight for ourselves. We become a delight for others. We become the light that allows us to be able to move into the right relationship for us. And that doesn't mean, and let's get this straight, that doesn't mean that you have to create a false construct of being happy all the time. There's a lot of different delightful, right? Like there's like delight, like everything, like delight is the understanding of coming into the space of one's authenticity, which is not the modality by which one has to be energetically cheerful, but by which one is able to embrace the self to one's own full capacity. Because when we find that within ourselves, then it becomes a gift that we give to everybody around us. And that modality of understanding that, this is why I see a lot of energy that's in solitude right now, that is getting in the business of finding their delight and understanding that that isn't selfish. So long as building into the context of your joy does not hurt another, right? So long as your delight doesn't come at the detriment of another, then that is a gift that you give to the world. That is a gift that we want to amplify and magnetize, because that is the joy that is energetically shared to those around the self, right? It's the gift that keeps on giving, because it's the gift of the self that we find for ourselves, then we immediately give to those around us. So I see that that's either a lot of the energy that is in solitude working upon that, or the modality of building into healthy relationship in the space by which they're able to magnetize and articulate to another, right? That they're working towards finding that sense of joy. And it's not easy. It's frustrating, right? It's hard to be in a world, and often trauma says, how dare you be happy, right? How dare you be happy at this moment? How dare you be happy at this time? We need to bring that joy into everything we do. We can be angry and we can be joyous too, right? It doesn't require one in order to have the other. We can integrate upon that, because that is what we identify as rapturous energy, right? The modality by which we can energetically contain the joy that we experience, but also understand that the reason we hold on to it is because it's so important, because there are things that are ugly and horrible that we're working to make better, right? So that is the space by which we identify the work that we do to effectively navigate into that. right? That's why we talk about making a joyful noise. It's the understanding of the joy that we bring into things that articulates why something is energetically important. So I feel like that's a lot of the energy that effectively articulates that. And I literally see the energy that feels, right? That's building into relationship by which they themselves feel, right? They feel they feel frustrated. They feel often those modalities, right? Navigating through like the frustration of what they've experienced, but not allowing it to energetically change them, right? And even in the space by which we don't allow our trauma to change us, we are changing in the best ways possible, right? The modality by which we don't allow trauma to change us is how we change in the best ways possible. Now, this brings us to those moon relationships, clarification between the Knight of Wands and its upright with the Ace of Wands and its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification with our Six of Cups in its upright. I like to see the Six of Cups here because this is a lot of the energy that is working into the integration of the self. But I keep on getting it's the integration of the self that allows for personal expansion. And so for a lot of those moon relationships, a lot of those moon relationships, that observation of being able to identify and recognize the force of intention, like this is why I see that there's a lot of deep profound healing that's happening there. And at the same time, they're recognizing what was energetically missing in the past, totally healing from it. Same exact moment, instantaneous healing, observation and healing, immediately up, immediately out, cleansing moon, right? Because they're in a present that gives them the observation of seeing it and they're healed from it just as easily. Final card for today's spread between the Page of Cups and its reversal with the Six of Cups and its upright. And this is moving towards those temperance relationships. One card to clarify, please. Coming from the bottom of the deck, Ace of Pentacles in its reversal. So let's talk a little bit about the Ace of Pentacles in its reversal, because I'm going to keep on seeing this for a lot of the energy deep within divine union right now, right? A little bit every day in the right direction is how something moves. A little bit every day in the right direction is how something moves, right? This is how we carve grooves. And I'm not surprised to see this because this is a continuation of what we identify with. Uranus is about to move into Gemini, but Uranus in Taurus works us through the observation of something that feels impossible and then it's uncomfortable, it's uncomfortable, it's uncomfortable, and then the next thing you know, you're doing it without thinking, right? It becomes as easy as breathing. It's working into the understanding that our ability to do things is equally our ability of doing things is equally recognized with how uncomfortable we're ready to feel in the process of learning how to do it, right? And that uncomfortability is often the articulation of what we effectively bring to things, because when we're working on growing, we're working on being uncomfortable in the best way possible, which means it doesn't feel like we're contorting ourselves, but we're pushing our own envelopes, right? We're expanding in ways that feel like they are profound, because it's that uncomfortability that allows us to expand to new possibility. So I see that that's a lot of the energy that is doing so, but also holding themselves very gently in the modality of that, because it's almost like the energy that's saying to one another, right? Like, pay attention to how another person holds you as you're going through a period of energetic transformation, because that will tell you everything you need to know in relationality to navigating one's own possibilities. So I feel like that's really beautiful, because I feel like there's a lot of energetic catharsis there. But even in the modality by which there's catharsis, right? There's care and there's steadiness. Bottom of the deck on this reading. Hierophant in its upright. Yeah, I mean, like, this is often, I need to point this out, right? Let's talk a little bit about this Hierophant The Hierophant in its reversal is a continuation of working through the difference I keep on seeing, and this was something that was coming through over the cards in the last few days, the difference between a belief and a value, right? Which is to say, we don't have to have the same beliefs to hold the same values true, right? And this is often how we can often recognize the energetic respect that we have for one another as it relates to holding different beliefs upon things, right? Because when we look at beliefs as bridges, and then we see the modality by which we hold something is working towards the direction that that belief takes us, then we understand the beauty of the bridges that are our beliefs in the context of the value that it leads to. So we see that that's a lot of the energy that is potentially working through that. And the thing about it is, I feel like there's a lot of trauma that is energetically healing in the space of identifying path work of purpose. And why are we seeing some of that energy there? Because the thing about it is trauma, right? Trauma often creates the space by which we energetically doubt ourselves, right? Trauma often creates the space by which we often feel, right? We often feel that the work that we're trying to heal is selfish or unnecessary, right? And that's the thing about it. Trauma will always see healing as extra, right? There you are working towards your healing, and another person will be like, "Why are you being so extra?" Being like, "What do you mean by extra? Why are you being so extra? You mean healing?" Like you mean like healing, like prioritizing the self, right? Trying to find joy, right? The modality by which another person sees that and it triggers them can often be like what helps us recognize what feels so energetically impossible, because it's the observation that the only sound that we should be healing I was about to say when we should be hearing, but instead I said the only sound when we should be healing, right? The only thing we should be hearing when we're working to heal is joy, right? It should be applause. It should be the feeling of positivity. But often the modality by which we often have to move away from something, and we often, what is the song you often hear as you're moving towards a healing journey? You're being really selfish right now, right? You're only thinking about the self, but we're supposed to think about the self because, again, the difference between being selfish and centered in self has everything to do with the portion of what you're giving yourself. If something you're giving yourself, you would eagerly give another, it is not selfish, right? Because it's not something that you solely desire for the self. So when we build into the identification point of being centered in self is having a healthy sense of the self, then when you hear others, when you're moving around having a healthy sense of the self, it's very interesting how that changes the schematics of the energy that one experiences around the self, because it's very curious to understand why there is that condescension, right? Why you hear that condescension that is often the force of another's projection, because it's the modality of witnessing, right? It's the modality of witnessing another going through all of the emotionality of something that they see in another that they effectively deny themselves, right? So we see that for a lot of the energy doing that work, that observation is the important part. And that's why we see that a lot of those relationships that are coming together right now, right? When it comes to beliefs or values, it's not the last conversation they're having, it's the first one, right? Because it's not the like I almost feel like this is a lot of the energy I told you. Like this is why they're world relationships, because that's at Uranus that is moving through Taurus, which is to say, if there's something that one holds that feels like it's going to break something, better to effectively address it in the moment than go through all of the energy of building into a connection only to find out the most important thing at the end. So we see that this is a lot of the energy that's recognizing that it's perfectly fine to articulate to another what a manifestation goal is, because a manifestation goal articulated isn't a promise of energetically having it with another. It's making sure that you and another person are on the same page in relationality to not only what you want, right? But the timeline that one aspires to be on it with. So I almost feel like this is the energy that says, that's building into relationships, saying it's not just enough to say what you want, but when you energetically want it. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you so much for being here and receiving these messages. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, it is a two-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my site. So I encourage you to do it there. A couple of updates before we move into personal readings today. First and foremost, thank you to everyone who participated in our recent tarot class. Our next tarot class will be held on Thursday at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be continuing our studies into the tarot with a focus on the cup cards, the court cards in the cup suit. If you'd like to become part of that tarot class program, all you need to do is head on over to my stack and become a paid subscriber. Your paid subscription to my stack is your ticket of entry into our live classes each and every month. You will also, as a paid subscriber, a monthly subscriber, have access to over 9 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library Class Archive. Now, it's not necessary to catch up. I'll be doing my best to give you an update on everything we've studied prior to beginning that next class, but the material is there for you to receive as you're ready to receive it. You'll also have access to a complimentary one-on-one chat with me and the other students to ask any questions that you may have in relation to anything we've learned or studied thus far. And if you become a founding member, not only will you receive a discount on the full year's worth of classes, but you'll also receive a complimentary. You'll also have access to over 20 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library class system, as well as the opportunity of receiving a complimentary mentorship class with me, where I will meet with you personally to assess where you are on your own personal tarot journey and give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best of your advantage, moving towards your tarot goals going forward. One of the things I tried to do in these classes was make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. Don't let your lack of experience or your robust experience prevent you from joining us in these classes. And even if you don't become a paid subscriber to my stack, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings or services. I also post my mystic meditation articles there, which give you updates on what we've been seeing energetically in the cards. I just wrote one recently on navigating this new moon energy that we're experiencing. I also want to let you guys know that on top of my standard life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. These are for any of my students seeking a more personalized educational experience with me. I take a very limited number of students for this reason, as those classes are focused on each individual's personal spiritual goals and journey work. Those classes can be purchased on an individual level or as a monthly class series, weekly or biweekly, as your schedule permits. Also, for my students seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, I'm very happy to offer weekly tarot insight packages. That is a package of 4 30-minute readings, again, weekly or biweekly, as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your personal journey. I'm also very happy to now offer dream interpretation readings, which you can purchase per dream or as a series. If you purchase a series, I would encourage you to start to keep a dream journal, as we will meet weekly or biweekly with that journal and utilize the tarot to understand the key themes and messages coming towards you in the dream space. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages, and we will do this again tomorrow.